report on Y News. The Philippine National Police advises the public to be vigilant as the country remains under terror alert level number 3. The Armed Forces of the Philippines confirms that Butig Town in Lanao Del Sur is finally cleared of the Maute Terror Group.
President Rodrigo Duterte announces the structure of the proposed federal government to begin next year. Consumers in Quezon City prepare ahead of the 42-hour water interruption schedule announced by Maynilad.
The Department of Trade and Industry assures that prices of basic goods this holiday season remain stable despite peso inflation. And the World Health Organization releases new guidelines on HIV self-testing as advocates commemorate World AIDS Day today.
Y News begins now.
From the UNTV News and Rescue Command Center, this is Y News with Angelo Castro III, Gerry Alcantara, and Darlene Basingan.
Good evening. Philippine National Police Chief Director General Ronald De La Rosa confirms that the entire country remains under terror alert number 3. This is aside from the terror alert status Metro Manila is currently placed under. Lea Ilagan will tell us why.
The two arrested suspects admitted that they're behind the foiled bombing attempts at the U.S. Embassy along Ross Boulevard last November 28. In line with this, General De La Rosa confirmed that the inter-country remain under terror alert level 3.
They should expect strong checkpoints. They should expect Oplansita anytime. They should expect some raids being conducted by our security forces on suspected terrorist personalities and layers na pwedeng pagtaguan ng mga terrorista na yan.
The PNP chief urges the public not to panic but to remain vigilant and cooperative with authorities to prevent terrorists from escaping. The two suspects identified as Raison or Rashid Kilala and Jaiher Ginar are members of the Ansar al-Khalifa. They remain under the custody of the Manila Police District. De La Rosa says the Ansar al-Khalifa targets to bomb crowded places to make the terror group ISIS known. The PNP chief says Rashid has initially placed the bomb at Luneta but did not detonate. Then he decided to just transfer it to Ross Boulevard. The cell phone which served as the triggering device of the bomb was found in the possession of Ginar.
Gusto nilang ma-recognize sa ISIS na talagang they are pro-ISIS kung nakapagpasabog sila ng bomba at nagkakaroon ng malaking pinsala, malaking casualties.
De La Rosa says they are still looking for 3 persons who handed the bomb over to Rashid. He says the 3 suspects returned to Marawi to help the Maute group fight against soldier currently holding an operation in the area. The arrested suspects are now facing charges. Lea Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue Camp Krame.
Butig Town in Lanao Del Sur is finally cleared of the Maute Terror Group. Brian De Paz will tell us why.
AFP spokesman Brigadier General Restituto Padilla confirmed today that based on the report of the 103rd Infantry Brigade, Butig Town is now 100% cleared of Maute Group. Padilla says they have begun the clearing and rehabilitation of the damages caused to the municipality from the 6-day dislodgement operations against the bandits since Saturday.
Kompleto na nila ang pag-clear at pagsasaayos ng munisipalidad ng Butig mismo at kanilang hinahanda ito ngayon sa pagbabalik ng mga residente doon na nagnanais ng makauwi.
Once the clearing operation is over, the town will be first turned over to the local government unit before allowing the return of residents displaced by the conflict. Based on the latest report, 61 members were killed from the Maute Group while 35 were wounded from the side of the government. Government forces have recaptured the old Butig Municipal Hall yesterday following the withdrawal of the bandits who holed up in Butig since November 26. The abandoned Butig Municipal Hall is the same target of the Maute Group in February but foiled by government troops. Meanwhile, Padilla maintains that the AFP remains committed to upholding its constitutional mandate of protecting the country and people against all form of threats. Thus, he denies reports that the ambush of the Presidential Security Group and 2 military escorts last November 29 was staged.
Kung nakita nila at sinasabi nila walang nagnanais magsalita o mga nagsasalita ay walang narinig, maaaring hindi naman po yata dun sa may eksaktong lugar na yun nangyari dahil pagdating po ng ating mga tropa upang tulungan itong mga na saktan sa isang roadside bombing, kaagad-agad po nila kasi itong inilikas at dinala po sa ating pinakamalapit na pick-up area.
Brian De Paz, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Aguinaldo.
President Rodrigo Duterte allays fears of some that martial law will once again be declared. Victor Pasari will tell us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte is guest of honor and speaker at the 3rd ARMM Local Government Summit in Davao City today. In his speech, the president allays the fears of some that he will be declaring martial law in the coming days.
Nag-martial law na tayo noon. Ano nangyari? Gumaling ba ang buhay natin hanggang ngayon? Wala. Sabi nila, martial law. Mag-martial law ako dito. Patayin ko lahat yung Maute, pati yung mga religious extremists. Bakit? Yung bang nasa utak niya, maipasa niya sa anak niya? Hindi, kanya yun. So, but what this guy would remember is ang tatay niya pinatay.
The president says he will not allow oppression in the country, but the chief executive stresses that to resolve the problems, especially in Mindanao, the only acceptable arrangement with the Moros is shifting to federalism. He says Muslim rebellion is due to the Moro nationalism to their land, and putting up a federal system will solve the issue. That is why he once again appeals to Congress to speed up the process of shifting to a federal form of government.
If you can craft 3 years from now ang federal setup, but I would suggest that it must have a strong president, otherwise delikado.
The president also emphasizes that once a federal system is in place, he will be stepping down to give way to a new president.
You can have my word. Taya ninyo yan. Pag nagkaroon ng parliament at mag-eleksyon ng presidente, I will willingly step down. I will resign. I will not hang on to power. I do not need it. I have enough to be for 40 years as a congressman, mayor. It does not really seem different from what I'm doing now.
On the other hand, President Duterte wants resumption of trade in Jolo. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Davao City.
Police Chief Ronald De La Rosa confirms that Senator Laila De Lima's former aide and driver Ronnie Dayan has been transferred under police custody at Camp Crame. This following reports that unidentified men were allegedly spying around the Pangasinan Police Office where Dayan was previously sheltered after his appearance at the House Inquiry.
Gusto niya magpa-secure muna dito. Andito lang sa loob ng kampo. May mga kausap lang siya.
Dayan is expected to face self-confessed drug lord Kerwin Espinosa at the Senate hearing on Monday. In other news, President Rodrigo Duterte says the structuring of the proposed federal government will begin next year. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte is determined to launch federalism in the country. The president believes this is the solution in attaining lasting peace, not only for Mindanao but for the whole country. During his visit at the military camp in Lanao Del Sur yesterday, President Duterte said the government will begin crafting the structure of the federal government next year. He will also keep on convincing the Filipino people that it is the best for the country. However, the president also said he will set aside the constitutional provisions which are not acceptable.
Ganito na lang sabi ko, we will begin this structure next year, but we will set aside, tabi mo muna, tabi natin yung mga constitutional provisions na hindi talaga acceptable. Ilagay muna natin yung what is good and at the same time, matanggap muna for the moment.
For now, the administration will try to attain peace in conflict-affected areas before setting up federalism. The administration is appealing to all Moro people to cooperate with the peace talks of the government.
Sana tulungan na lang ninyo ako kaysa makipag-away ng gobyerno na wala namang katapusan. Panahon ng Espanyol, Amerikano, kay Marcos hanggang ngayon. So hanggang kailan ito? Para sa ating mga anak. Tayo gas-gas na eh. Ang problema, presidente ako ng Pilipinas. And marami ring tumulong yung mga non-Moro. Ang problema nito, tayo ang nag-aaway. Wala naman akong nakikitang rason. At bakit naman tayo mag-away?
Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Land Transportation Office will be deploying 500 MMDA traffic enforcers this holiday season. Joanna will tell us why.
The Metro Manila Development Authority and the Land Transportation Office has signed an agreement in which LTO will train MMDA personnel on how to strictly implement the Republic Act No. 10586 or Anti-Drunk and Drug Driving Law in Metro Manila. According to the MMDA, the implementation of the law is timely since the number of drunk driving cases increases by 20% every holiday season.
Hopefully, magawa po natin to in time for the Christmas season dahil alam naman natin, madaming parties, madaming nagiinuman sa panahon na ito. So hopefully we can have this in time.
Under the said law, all motorists caught driving while under the influence of illegal drugs or alcohol will be apprehended and penalized accordingly. Earlier, the LTO presented the first batch of enforcers who undergone training on how to determine if a driver is intoxicated or is high on drugs. In 2014, the PNP Highway Patrol Group recorded almost 500 cases of car accidents involving intoxicated drivers. Starting tomorrow, traffic enforcers will strictly monitor major thoroughfares in Metro Manila in order for them to apprehend all violators of the said law. However, LTO noted that they lack breath analyzers that can be used by enforcers to examine apprehended motorists.
Actually, yung initial purchase niya is around, I think, 150. Kaya lang hindi nakakonsentrate dito sa Metro Manila, kundi sa lahat ng regional offices ng LTO. So, kukunti lang itong dito sa Metro Manila. However, meron kaming pending na 330 sets nitong breath analyzer. We hope to finish the procurement within the year para ito'y may distribute.
Meanwhile, MMDA is urging local government units to have their local traffic enforcers undergo training as well. This is to ensure the strict implementation of the said law in every city in Metro Manila. Joan Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Makati City.
The Sandigan Bayan has ordered the arrest of former MRT3 General Manager Alvi Tangcol over a graft case due to his alleged extortion of $30 million from a Czech train supplier. The anti-graft court also ordered the arrest of Bitangcol's former envoy Wilson De Vera. The Sandigan Bayan has set a 60,000 peso bail for the temporary freedom of Bitangcol. Motorists are experiencing heavy traffic on some major roads in Metro Manila. Aiko Miguel is at EDSA Philam to tell us why, live. Yes, Aiko.
Good evening, Darlene. Huge volume of vehicles are piled up in most of the major roads in Metro Manila. Motorists are advised to find alternate thoroughfares to avoid traffic congestion. Let us take a look first at the traffic situation along EDSA Philam. As you can see on your television, traffic is light here along EDSA Philam. Unlike the southbound lane of EDSA Muñoz, motorists will experience heavy traffic there. There is also a road closure at EDSA Muñoz intersection, which started last October 12 at 2 p.m. until further notice. Motorists are advised to take Q-slot instead. Along northbound of Bansalangin, North Avenue, Trinoma and Quezon Avenue, expect heavy traffic in those areas, but along the southbound, vehicles can move freely along those lanes. From Timog, Kamuning, New York, Nepa Q-Mart, Monte de Piedad, Aurora Boulevard southbound, there is also light to moderate traffic in those areas. Both lanes of Reliance, Pioneer Boni, Guadalupe, Orense, Calaya, and Estrella, Buendia, Ayala Avenue, and in Arnaiz Pasay Road, and in Tramo, expect heavy traffic there. There is an ongoing Skyway Stage 3 works along Osmeña Highway and Quirino Avenue, so vehicles are congested in those areas. An ongoing DPWH drainage rehabilitation is at EDSA Tramo Street southbound. One lane is occupied. Expect heavy traffic in the area. Motorists should also find alternate thoroughfares along northbound of Tramo, Taft Avenue, and FB Harrison because heavy traffic will be experienced there. Meanwhile, you can view on your TV monitors the live traffic points. From EDSA Guadalupe going to Shaw Boulevard, there is heavy traffic. And from Orense going to Ayala Avenue, heavy traffic is in the area. From Recto Avenue, Manila going to Divisoria, expect light to moderate traffic. And from Recto Avenue going to Legarda, there is moderate traffic. From Jose Abad Santos Avenue, Manila going to Juan Luna Street, moderate to heavy traffic will be experienced. And going to Monumento, expect moderate to heavy traffic there. From Marcos Highway, Kalumpang, Marikina City, going to Antipolo, moderate traffic will be experienced by motorists. And going to Cubao, traffic is already light. Meanwhile, motorcycles traversing EDSA and C5 can now use the leftmost lane in the existing motorcycle lanes. So basically, motorcycles are now allowed to use two lanes. However, motorcyclists traversing Macapagal Boulevard and Commonwealth Avenue will still be using the designated motorcycle lanes. Motorists can now use Camp Aguinaldo and Naval Station if they have applied for an application pass to pass through those lanes. Darlene, tomorrow is Friday and we are reminding motorists that the number coding scheme will start at 7 in the morning and end up to 8 in the evening for vehicles with plates ending in 9 and 0. Motorists are also reminded to obey traffic rules and to keep your eyes on the road while driving. That is the latest traffic update. Back to you, Darlene.
Thank you, Aiko. And that's Aiko Miguel reporting live from EDSA Philam.
Next in Y News. Consumers in Quezon City prepare ahead of the 42-hour water interruption schedule announced by Maynilad.
The Department of Trade and Industry assures the public that prices of basic goods this holiday season will remain stable despite peso inflation.
And the World Health Organization releases new guidelines on HIV self-testing as advocates commemorate the World AIDS Day.
Y News will be right back. Consumers react over the prolonged water interruption schedule announced by Maynilad. Grace Casin will tell us why.
As early as today, Miles Yap has begun setting up her water gallons. This after Maynilad has announced its 43-hour water interruption schedule in Quezon City, beginning on Monday, December 5 from 8 in the evening to 4 in the afternoon on Wednesday, December 7. Miles is worried that the prolonged interruption would certainly impact the operation of their canteen, considering that a business like theirs, water supply is of utmost importance.
Sa 2 araw, kulang yun. Kasi sa maghapon namin, nakakaano kami ng tubig. Nakakadami kami ng tubig. Kailangan mayat maya hugas ng kakain, huhugas, luto. Kaya mahirap para sa amin yung 2 araw.
Maynilad explains that they need to replace a defective valve along Tandang Sora Avenue.
Nung tine-check po namin itong gate valve na to, kahit na po isara namin, meron pa rin pong nagfo-flow ng water doon sa pipeline. Kailangan po namin palitan yung lumang gate valve doon sa lugar na yon para po doon sa mga future maintenance activities namin dahil po yung luma ay na-install pa po noong 1980.
Nevertheless, the water concessionaire assures to mobilize 14 water tankers that will supply water in the affected areas. Maynilad also asked for patience from motorists with respect to the inconvenience that construction in Tandang Sora would cause. The prolonged supply interruption will affect 15 barangays in Quezon City, and these are Apolonio Samson, Baisa, Bahay Toro, Bungad, Damayan, Del Monte, Katipunan, Mariblo, Paltok, Paraiso, San Antonio, Sangandaan, Talipapa, Tandang Sora, and Veterans Village. Around 300,000 consumers are expected to be affected by the water interruption. Maynilad welcomes concerns from public through its hotline number 1626. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Department of Trade and Industry assures that prices of goods this holiday season are not affected by the inflation of the peso. Monokson will tell us why.
The value of peso against the dollar has reached almost 50 pesos. But according to the Trade Department, this will not affect the prices of goods this holiday season.
Pag gasoline and oil products, may direct impact kasi they're all imported. But if you look at other food products and industries, hindi naman yan import-dependent.
The department also said that many products this holiday season are not imported products. DTI projects that the value of peso will not decline continuously, but will begin recover eventually next year. Meanwhile, the Trade Department reminds consumers to be careful of buying products online. Shoppers must assure that the seller online have a legitimate website, even though the department do not accredit any of this.
Makikita rin naman nila yung feedback dun sa sites na yon, pati yung sellers, di ba? May mga rating yan. So be careful lang, no? So up to that point, matutulungan natin sila. Pero if you're careless, syempre mahirap tulungan.
For Joanne, it is more practical to buy online to avoid any inconvenience.
Mas convenient. Tapos hassle-free ka sa mga traffic. Tapos doon mas mabilis mo siyang mapipili nang hindi ka minsan inistorbo ng halimbawa sales lady.
Casely preferred to buy in Divisoria so he can personally check the product he's buying, unlike in an online shop.
Makakapili ka ng mga iba-ibang klase kaysa sa at least makikita mo siya ng personal, mahahawakan mo siya, ganun. Tapos yun talaga importante, makakatawad.
Whether it's online shopping or not, the Trade Department reminds everyone to plan your shopping and examine items carefully to ensure you are getting quality products. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
A lawmaker in the lower house is pushing for a bill that would create a curriculum that will focus on teaching students about the limitations and proper behavior of using the internet. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
The lower house is pushing the House Bill number 4494 or the Internet Values Education Act. The law's primary aim is to add a school curriculum that would teach students about the importance and limitations of using the internet.
So we must guide them and teach them that when we are in the internet, we are actually communicating with other people.
The said law is now being pushed in the committee level of the lower house as a lot of children are falling into excessive playing of online games and are being exposed to explicit videos. The Abanes couple is among the millions of Filipinos that despite the difficulty in life are doing their best to address the needs of their children, especially in school. Jimmy's daughter is only 15 years old but he chose to buy her a gadget at such a young age so he can use in her studies. However, the laptop that should be used only for her studies is sometimes being abused by too much consumption of social media that the child's parents already find problematic.
Siyempre, hindi
naman namin nababantayan ng oras-oras dahil meron din kaming trabaho. Instead na pwede nang yung oras na pwede na silang matulog, nilalaan pa nila dun sa pagko-computer.
Based on statistics, there are about 54 million internet users in the Philippines. That number is almost half of the country's population. According to one lawmaker, guidance and giving advice to a child should still come from parents.
Ang tingin kong problema o ang solusyon, yung guidance ng mga parents natin, yung mga guidance ng elderly.
Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
The National Bureau of Investigation will send another request to the Anti-Money Laundering Council or AMLAC for the transaction records of 5 bank accounts possibly linked to illegal drug trade. Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre says one of the accounts belongs to a government official. He refused, though, to name said official.
Yeah, meron akong kausap na NBI and we came to learn of some accounts that we need to ask the AMLAC.
In other news, the Philippine National Police has created a task group in the Negros Island region in preparation for the country's hosting of the 50th ASEAN Summit next year. The task group is composed of 20 agencies, including the Department of the Interior and Local Government or DILG, the Bureau of Fire Protection, the Department of Health, Office of the Civil Defense, and the Coast Guard. Aside from the inspection of the venues and accommodations, the task group is also tasked to plan the overall security of the heads of states and their respective delegations.
This is the magnet for terrorists. Ito yung gustong-gusto nila na pasukan. Kaya as early as of now, nagpe-prepare na tayo nun.
The Department of Health will offer confidential HIV self-testing kits in social hygiene clinics for free. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
The Department of Health aims for zero HIV case in the country by 2022 before it becomes one of the leading causes of death of Filipinos. Thus, the department will intensify its program of offering free and confidential HIV self-testing kits in social hygiene clinics run by local government units and 26 HIV treatment hubs nationwide.
It will be available in selected areas pero hindi lang sa mga health facilities. It can be available, for example, sa NYC na mga offices, sa mga offices ng mga NGO partners natin, Pinoy Plus, and other areas where our people can get counseling before they get the test.
The Health Department wants the public to know the importance of open communication in homes to guide the youth, especially on issues of reproductive health. DOH, the World Health Organization, and other advocates are commemorating the World AIDS Day today. Based on data in 2016, roughly 26 new HIV infections are added every day as compared to the reports in 2008 with only 1 new HIV infection per day. From January 1984 to October 2016, a total of 38,114 of HIV cases were reported in the country. 2016 hasn't ended yet, but there are already 7,756 HIV-infected Filipinos.
Now in the Philippines, the situation is more dramatic because it never went down, it only went up. And this year we might be hitting as many as 10,000 newly diagnosed people with HIV, at least 25% more than last year.
Most of those with AIDS among the youth are in the age group of 15 to 24 years old.
Kita po natin na ang bago pong mukha ng HIV ay ang Filipino youth. And ito po ay nakakabahala. Ito po ay alarming dahil pataas pa po ito ng pataas.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The World Health Organization has released its new guidelines on HIV self-testing in line with the World AIDS Day. March Navarro will tell us why.
In 2015, 1.1 million people died from HIV-related causes globally. Almost 37 million people were living with HIV at the end of 2015, with more than 2 million who became newly infected with HIV. The World Health Organization says men are much less likely to get tested, and that is because women have more opportunities. They are much more frequent attenders at clinical settings or at natal clinics. Men account for only 30% of people who have tested for HIV, and results are less likely to be diagnosed and put on antiretroviral therapy. As a consequence, men are more likely to die of HIV-related causes than women. According to a new WHO progress report, lack of an HIV diagnosis is a major obstacle to implementing the organization's recommendation that everyone with HIV should be offered the antiretroviral therapy.
We see in 2016 that within 1 year, 1.1 million people have been dying of AIDS. This is absolutely unacceptable at a time where effective treatment and affordable medicines should be available to all of them.
According to WHO's report, more than 18 million people with HIV are currently taking antiretroviral therapy. A similar number is still unable to access treatment, the majority of whom are unaware of their positive status. Thus, they might be arriving late for treatment and some of them might die.
Self-testing is a promising method to bring tests closer to the people, to empower people to find out in the privacy of their home on whether they're HIV positive or HIV negative. And in case they're HIV positive, they can seek advice at a trained healthcare provider.
HIV self-testing means people can use either oral fluid or blood finger pricks to discover their status in a private setting with the result ready within 20 minutes. 23 countries currently have national policies that support HIV self-testing. HIV self-testing is a way to reach more people with undiagnosed HIV and represents a step forward to empower individuals, diagnose people earlier before they become sick, bring services closer to where people live, and create demand for HIV testing. This is particularly important for those people facing barriers to accessing existing services. Marge Navarro, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Health experts in Russia say HIV virus has become the most dangerous infectious disease in the country. Ronald de Guzman will tell us why.
Извините, говорить, что нет эпидемии, это как-то очень скромно, да, обрисовывать ситуацию.
Russia's top AIDS specialist says the country's AIDS epidemic has reached a dangerous tipping point with the number of people registered HIV positive reaching record levels in the country at 1,087,339.
То есть ВИЧ-инфекция стала заболеванием, самым опасным инфекционным заболеванием на территории Российской Федерации. От нее умирают больше всего, даже больше, чем от туберкулеза.
AIDS, which stands for Acquired Immune Deficiency Syndrome, is caused by the human immunodeficiency virus or the HIV. Despite the escalation, some activists and sufferers of the virus say they feel unsupported by the government. The data shared by Russia's Federal AIDS Center says the numbers of new cases have shot up by 1.9% in the first 9 months of this year compared to 2015. Indicating that the country is now grappling with the largest figure of new cases since records began. Pokrovsky added that government spending in the last 5 years has been insufficient. Only around 30% of all registered HIV-positive people receive antiretroviral therapy. UNAIDS Regional Director for Eastern Europe and Central Asia, Vinay Saldanha, says much more is needed to be done to stem the alarming increase in affected cases.
Well, we're seeing indications based on official statistics that amongst the general population, age 15 to 49, approximately 1% of the population may be infected with HIV in Russia. So that's a very worrying threshold. And of course, we would like to see much more done, and we see indeed much more being done to respond to this critical situation.
Ronald de Guzman, UNTV News and Rescue, Moscow, Russia.
A mother who suffered from myoma has expressed her gratitude to UNTV Serbisyong Kasangbahay. Jun Surya will tell us why.
September 21 nag-start yung pain, doc. Tapos yun, pina-check up ko. After sabi UTI. Tapos ng 26 yun na. Ang sakit siya. Tapos yun, na-confine ako. Doon nakita, nag-CT scan o ultrasound. Doon nakita na may myoma.
48-year-old mother Josephine Gilaran has sought the help of UNTV's Serbisyong Kasangbahay for the pelvic pain she's been suffering from for months. Serbisyong Kasangbahay brought Josephine to one of its partners in public service, the De Los Santos Medical Center, to undergo a medical checkup. After some medical examinations, she underwent total abdominal hysterectomy.
Ito kapag binuksan na natin, yung nandito sa side na ito, yun yung cyst ng ovaryo, pati yung tubo. Ito naman yung close-up ng myoma. Okay, ang laki ng myoma kasi mga 6 centimeters siya. Yung cyst mas malaki, mga around 8 centimeters. Pero inalisan natin buo, yung iniwan natin, as mentioned, yung kanang ovaryo and tubo, yan ang buong myoma na yan. Yan po ang nagsasanhi ng malakas na pagre-regla ni nanay. Yung pain naman, mas ina-attribute natin doon sa cyst.
Josephine is very thankful to everyone who helped in her successful operation.
Salamat kay Kuya Nian, tapos sa staff ng Action UNTV, kay Dr. Cedric Galieto, salamat Doc. Maraming salamat. At dito po sa De Los Santos Medical Center, salamat.
Coming up, the Japanese government orders major poultry cull after its first bird flu outbreak in nearly 2 years.
Audio from a Colombian flight control center reveals that the pilot of the Lamia passenger plane carrying Brazilian football players radioed an emergency landing due to fuel shortage.
And the Japanese government hastens to work ahead of the 2020 Tokyo Olympics.
More from Y News after this break. The northeast monsoon is continuously affecting extreme northern Luzon. The Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration, or PAG-ASA, says the islands of Batanes, Calayan and Babuyan will experience light rains. Partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers and thunderstorms will prevail over Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Temperature in Metro Manila tomorrow may reach 32 degrees Celsius and 15 degrees Celsius in Baguio City. PAG-ASA is expecting no tropical cyclone to affect the country until the weekend. Dense fog blinded New Delhi for the second straight day today, paralyzing road, rail, and air traffic. Flight operations at the Indira Gandhi International Airport in the capital were resumed after being temporarily suspended. The fog had brought visibility to below 50 meters. According to the India Meteorological Department, the fog is expected to last for another 6 days. The Japanese government orders the country's major poultry cull in nearly 2 years. Danny Tixon will tell us why.
Japan has started culling more than 300,000 chickens and ducks after the discovery of a highly contagious form of bird flu on farms in the north of the country. Local officials report on Tuesday, November 29, the bird flu outbreaks are the first in nearly 2 years in Japan, and news of the cullings boosted shares in some infection control product makers. Japan's top government spokesman Yoshihide Suga said in a meeting with relating ministries that all necessary measures will be taken to prevent the virus from spreading further.
養鶏農家に対する衛生管理の徹底等の未然防止について改めて全国の自治体関係機関にも注意喚起の徹底をお願いをするとともに関係府省が緊密に連携して政府一丸となって感染拡大の防止のために緊張感を持って万全の対応を取ってまいりたいと考えています。
In Niigata Prefecture, north of Tokyo, authorities on Tuesday started culling about 310,000 chickens at a farm in the village of Sekikawa after 40 birds were found dead from H5 bird flu. The cull will continue until December 2. Further north in the prefecture of Aomori, about 16,500 ducks were being culled in the city of the same name after some tested positive for bird flu, according to a statement on the prefecture's website. This is the first time that highly pathogenic avian influenza has been confirmed in Aomori Prefecture. The Agriculture Ministry said the outbreaks are the first for nearly 2 years in poultry farms in Japan. Danny Tigzon, UNTV News and Rescue, Japan.
Emergency personnel continue the search for missing people in Tennessee. Calvin Manaig will tell us why.
Local officials said on Wednesday, search and rescue efforts continue for those missing after wildfires ravaged 2 small Tennessee resort towns in the Great Smoky Mountains, killing 4 people and damaging more than 100 homes, forcing thousands to flee.
We have teams that are working to remove debris so that we can get into those areas that we have not been able to get in before.
Authorities are establishing an emergency phone number to help identify those still missing.
People that have persons that they think are missing can call this 800 number, and we can begin to try to identify those individuals and begin to try to help locate members of families that are missing. That is a priority of ours right now. We know there's concern out there by family members. We're concerned.
The officer says rainy weather is helping firefighters battling the flames. In Pigeon Forge, one couple was heartbroken when they returned to find their dream home burned to the ground.
This was our front door. That was our big, beautiful stone wall, our bay window. The big fireplace was the reason that we bought the home.
The fire had reached their driveway before they were able to escape, forcing the couple to drive through the flames to safety. The quick getaway left them unable to save any of their valuables, including sentimental valuables. About 1,200 homes and businesses were left without power in the area, and some 2,000 people sought refuge in shelters. Downed power lines and fallen trees sparked several smaller fires, according to reports. Members of the state's National Guard have been called in to assist first responders. Calvin Manaig, UNTV News and Rescue, Los Angeles, USA.
Audio from a Colombian flight control center shows that the pilot of the Lamia Airlines plane that crashed had radioed that he was running out of fuel and needed to make an emergency landing. The crash virtually wiped out the Brazilian football team. RC Reyes will tell us why.
The pilot of a Lamia Airlines plane that crashed in Colombia had radioed that he was running out of fuel and needed to make an emergency landing, audio from the flight control center showed. The crash on Monday night killed 71 people. 6 survived, including just 3 members of the Chapecoense soccer squad en route to the biggest game in their history, the Copa Sudamericana final. The Lamia pilot told the control tower at the airport in Medellin that he was in trouble, but priority was given to a plane from airline Viva Colombia, which had also reported problems. The pilot of the Lamia 933 flight told the operator before she continued to authorize priority landing for the Viva Colombia flight. After several requests for instructions to land, including altitude and course directions, the operator directed the flight to approach the airport runway, which was wet with rain. At this point, the flight was just over 8 miles, 13 kilometers from the runway. The Lamia pilot also said he was experiencing electrical difficulties.
Está a 8.2 millas de la pista. ¿Qué altitud tiene ahora?
The BAE 146, made by BAE Systems PLC, slammed into a mountainside. Besides the 3 players, a journalist and 2 crew members survived. RC Reyes, UNTV News and Rescue, Colombia.
A South Korean artist stages a calligraphy performance on the street of Seoul amid the country's presidential scandal. Eric Ferrer will tell us why.
A South Korean artist used calligraphy as means to get a message of anger across to President Park Geun-hye on Saturday, November 26. Imok Sang painted, "Park Geun-hye Step Down," on a strip of white cloth 500 meters in length on the street in Seoul, where massive candlelight rallies have been taking place on weekends.
박근혜 퇴진을 외치는 시민들의 목소리, 국민들의 함성을 기록으로 남기고 싶었습니다.
PAC's presidency has been rocked by allegations that a close friend used her ties to the leader to meddle in state affairs and wield improper influence. Prosecutors investigating the case have indicated her friend, Choi Soon-sil, and are seeking to question the president about her role in the scandal. Meanwhile, about 100 people gathered in front of Seoul City Hall Square for a debate session to discuss Park's impeachment. Later on Saturday, more than 1 million people gathered again, including about 1,000 activist farmers who might try to march to the presidential Blue House. Mass protests against Park over the past 4 weekends have been the biggest public demonstration seen in South Korea since the 1980s. Eric Ferrer, UNTV News and Rescue, South Korea.
The International Olympic Committee reminds Tokyo that time is running out. Monokson tells us why.
The Rio Olympics debriefing comes to a close in Tokyo on Wednesday, as members of the International Olympic Committee reflected upon lessons learned and gave advice to the next host city. IOC Vice President John Coates reminded Tokyo that the clock is ticking as the 2020 hosts continue to grapple with ballooning expenses for the Summer Games.
Clock is ticking is yes, that's a harsh way of saying it. We had a lot of project managers involved when I was involved running the games, and in project management you use timelines to create an outcome, and I think that's a better way of looking at it.
The comment comes a day after Coates met with Tokyo Governor Yuriko Koike at an open 4-party working group meeting where organizers vowed to keep costs below $20 billion. A figure that was still considered too high for the Olympic Authority. Carlos Nuzman, the president of the Brazilian Olympic Committee, was also present in the gathering.
I have no doubt about the capacity and the way how Tokyo they will deliver this. It will be a fantastic games.
Members of the IOC and Tokyo 2020 organizers will continue to discuss further cost cuts. The IOC debriefing for the Tokyo 2020 organization was held over 3 days in Tokyo. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Those are the reasons behind the news. December 1, 2016. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we delivered to you as they unfold. I'm Gerry Alcantara.
And I'm Darlene Basingan, because we need to know.
We will always ask why. And for watching, Why News.